All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Let's Talk Recovery. I am really glad that you're here this evening. Um, and a couple things as you check in this evening, I'd like for you in the comments section, let me know where you're checking in from. And as we're talking tonight, feel free to stick a comment in there. Let me know what you think about what's going on. Now, the holidays really, some people would say, we're here at the end of October. Some would say it's too early to begin talking about the holidays. But I don't think so at all. I don't think we can begin making plans for the holidays, for our recovery through the holidays. I don't think we can begin making plans for that too soon. For a lot of people in recovery, the holiday season can be both joyful and stressful. Both. And they can be both at the same time. That's one of the strange things about feelings, is that we can experience feelings that are exact opposites all at the same time. And that happens often. That's very common, not just for us in recovery, but for everybody. Now, what goes on during the holiday season? There's all kinds of family things. And I kind of see the holiday season, especially if you have kids, it can start at Halloween. And then you begin to build towards Thanksgiving and then Christmas and New Year's. There's all the family stuff. There's expectations. And we all know that expectations are premeditated resentments, right? And resentment is a killer in recovery. Resentment causes us all kinds of problems. So there's family stuff, expectations. There's memories of holidays past. Maybe times when, as we've been in active addiction, where we have just the holidays have been a disaster. There's travel. And here's a big one that a lot of us don't think about. There is our disrupted routines. For all of us, for everybody, routine is an important part of life. And a lot of us like to think that we're spontaneous, but we really aren't. We like our routines, and the routines are disrupted. For some of us, the holiday season means feelings like loneliness or grief. Those kind of things can come up this time of year. Now, tonight, what we're going to be talking about is how to prepare for the holidays in recovery, not just to survive them, but we're going to talk about walking through the holidays with peace and with confidence. And that is possible. Before we get started, I want you to drop in the comments where you're watching from. And as you come in, if you want to, drop just one word in the comments that describes how you usually feel during the holidays. It might be something like excited or stressed or grateful or overwhelmed. 2 weeks ago, I met with somebody, and I just brought up and mentioned 2 weeks ago. I said, "Hey, man, how do you do through the holidays?" And the fellow I was talking to is in recovery. And when I talked to him 2 weeks ago, he told me, "Hey, Blas, good to see you here, man." When I talked to this guy 2 weeks ago, he told me, he said, "Dude, the holidays are no problem for me. I skate through the holidays and things are great. They don't cause me any kind of problems." That was 2 weeks ago. I met with him just yesterday again. And as soon as we started talking, he jumped in and he told me, he said, man, he said, the weather's turning cool. The skies are cloudy and overcast. And dude, my seasonal depression is kicking in big time. And I had to stop and remind him, hey, no, wait a minute. You just told me 2 weeks ago that you do great through the holiday season. You don't struggle at all. And this week, you're all of a sudden recognizing that seasonal depression is kicking in. And he told me, he said, yeah, he said, I guess this time of year really does affect me more than I thought it did, and in different ways than I thought it did. So, this is always meant to be interactive. And while we're talking tonight, while I'm talking tonight, don't just listen. Feel free to jump in and to share your thoughts. Overwhelmed. I see that, man. Holidays can be overwhelming. For me, the holidays, they're a mix of feelings. For me, I'm divorced. My daughters are all grown. I've got grandkids now. But for me, the holidays can kick up a lot of different emotions. And that time frame runs all the way from Halloween through New Year's. Because I'm divorced, my daughters and their families are spread between, of course, some of my daughters are out of state now. I have 4 daughters from Indianapolis to Florida. One of them's just a couple miles up the road from me, and another one is in St. Louis. And my grandkids are spread everywhere. And when the holidays roll around, if the girls all make it into town here, they're spread between their mother and I because we're divorced. And so I may not see my kids or my grandkids right on the holiday. It may be that I see them the weekend after. Occasionally, ones that are coming in from out of town are here and they'll do something with their mother, spend the holiday day with their mother. And then I might see them for just an hour or just a few minutes before they're headed back out of town. And I'm okay with that. I want them to enjoy time with their mother, but that can cause a real emotional roller coaster with me. And so I want to begin this evening by talking about holiday triggers, working on understanding holiday triggers and what kind of things can set us off this time of year. And I want to start with one simple truth. The holidays do not cause relapse. They don't. The holidays and times like this just reveal the pressure points that we haven't dealt with yet. They reveal those areas that we haven't thought through and included in our recovery plan yet. And so what are some things that we may need to consider putting into our plan for this season? For some of us, that's going to be things like emotional triggers. And those emotional triggers may be things like loneliness. For instance, with me and my kids being scattered across the country and in and out of town quick sometimes at the holidays, it can be guilt as we think about past holidays and maybe the way that we haven't shown up or the way that we have shown up, but we've not been sober and we've caused problems and disturbances. It may be shame. It may be that an emotional trigger for us through the holidays is sadness. Maybe there's someone that we've lost and that isn't here with us anymore through the holidays. So emotional triggers are one area. Another struggle for some of us is going to be relational triggers. And those can look like and be things like being around people who still expect the old version of me. And that can take a lot of forms. It can be that we used to be the life of the party as we were using maybe alcohol or drugs, um, or if our addiction was pornography or sexual behavior or something along those lines. It may be that we were detached during the holidays in the past and that we were skipping out quick or just not showing up at all. And it may be that people expect that old version of us. It may be that we drank in the past and we don't drink now. And people don't understand that. That can cause all kinds of issues and problems. It can be environmental triggers. Now, what do those look like? Environmental triggers can be through the winter months like this, can be things like the weather. The weather turns cold, skies are cloudy, it's getting dark early. Just a few weeks ago, it would have still been light outside this time of the evening here where I'm at now. It's dark out there. It's getting dark early. It's getting light later in the morning. And so it can be emotional triggers like that. Those emotion or environmental triggers like that. Environmental triggers can also include things like work parties or family parties. It can be that some of those parties, some of those family get-togethers are going to have alcohol or other things that we've struggled with in the past. Environmental triggers could even include things like a lack of meetings. We're getting busy because of our disrupted schedule and because of business and family things going on, and we're not able to make it to meetings like we normally do. Or it can even be something like too much free time where we get time off. There was a job I had in the past where I was always off work from Christmas until after New Year's. And too much free time for me can be a real trigger. And so I want you to stop and think for a minute about what tends to throw you off balance during the holidays. And if you come up with something there, feel free to stick that in the chat. What comes up that throws you off balance during the holidays? Here's the thing. If we can name it, then we can plan for it. If we can recognize and see those potential triggers, then we can plan for them and we can beat them. Awareness doesn't remove the challenge, but awareness does give us power in the situation to face it and to push through successfully. Excuse me. So, one of the first things that we want to focus on as we begin to move into the holiday season is we want to try to focus on being able to maintain some type of recovery routine. Again, routine is extremely important. We may not recognize that. You may not recognize that. I didn't recognize that for a long time, how important routine is for me in my recovery. When the holidays hit, the first thing to go is usually our routine. Let me grab a cough drop here. I've been struggling with some congestion here lately. As the holidays come up and we get busy, sometimes the meetings get skipped. Sometimes our sleep schedules change. Fatigue for all of us is a big trigger, whether we realize that or not. And during the holidays, our sleep schedules may change. Some of us travel during the holidays. I have a tendency to eat a lot of junk. And for me, I'm diabetic. And when I eat a lot of junk, it can really affect my 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 feelings. And we many times will convince ourselves that over the holidays, recovery can take a little bit of a vacation. As things get busy, it's easy to say, I'm just going to quit doing meetings until after New Year's. Or if we meet regularly with a coach or a therapist, sometimes finances get tight during the holidays, and those things will go. I'm just not going to be able to afford to meet with my counselor or my coach or my therapist until after New Year's, and that will go. And so recovery begins to take a hit. And the problem is, while we may believe that we can afford to take a short vacation from our recovery practices, recovery doesn't take a holiday. Our recovery routine, our plan, is the foundation that keeps everything else from falling apart. Now, here are a few tips to protect that foundation. First of all, as much as we can, we need to attempt to keep up our meeting schedule. Now, I'll be the first to tell you, there are times during the holidays when things get busy and I can't make all my regular meetings, or there's an evening where I normally attend a meeting and something comes up, a business activity, a family get together, something like that. And I have to miss that meeting. But in the world today, there are all kinds of other things that are available to us. For instance, there are all kinds of meetings that are available now online through Zoom. And we can do Zoom through our laptop, through an iPad. We can do Zoom through our phone. And for me, over the years, those online meetings have been something good for me to know about ahead of time, where I can locate those meetings when those meetings are available. And if I have to miss a regular in-person meeting that I would attend, then I make that up, if it's at all possible, with an online meeting at another time, another day. We need to attempt as much as we can to stick to our daily structure. Now, what does that involve? For a lot of us that are in recovery, we have those daily disciplines and activities that are important to us. Things like daily prayer or meditation, things like journaling. Whatever you use to ground you, we need to protect that. We need to keep up, or make an attempt to keep up, with our reading, with our meditation, with our prayer. Now, that might mean something like, if you're one of those people who likes to do your prayer and meditation very first thing in the morning when you get up, if that schedule gets thrown off, it may mean that you bump it to your lunch break, or you bump it into the evening. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not one of those morning people. I get up in the morning. I get up at a decent hour in the morning. But man, I just don't function well with my prayer and meditation and my disciplines first thing. And so, but it is easy for me to get, because I do my daily disciplines a little later in the day, it's easy for those to kind of get pushed out of the way. And I have to be sure that I make those up at some other time before I go to bed. Or since I don't do them first thing in the morning, maybe I do them first thing in the morning when I know there's something coming up that's going to block that later in the afternoon. During the holidays, we have to stay connected and stay in contact with people like our sponsor or our accountability partner or our support group. That interaction is an important part of our recovery, and it becomes even more important during the holidays because of the potential for our anxiety and our stress levels to rise. Because our schedules are thrown off, it becomes more important that we have that regular interaction with those people, our sponsor or our accountability partner, or that group that we do a check-in with. And there are things we can do with that. For instance, one of the things that I do, I make phone calls. I have regular times during the week when I meet in person with people. But one of the tools that's become important for me is I use an app that's called Marco Polo. And that Marco Polo app allows me to do a check-in with a friend or with a sponsor. And if you're not familiar with Marco Polo, I would describe it as something like a video text. And I like Marco Polo because with a text, if I send a text, if somebody asks, how are you doing, Ron? And I send a text and say, I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. Well, I'm doing fine can mean a lot of things. It can mean that life is great. Things are going well. I'm doing fine can also be said in a sarcastic way. Life's falling apart, but I'm doing fine because that's what I'm supposed to do. The thing with a Marco Polo check-in is that you're able to see my face. And if I wanted to make a phone call right now, you might not be available with Marco Polo. I can send that check-in right now. And if you're not free to look at it for 5 minutes or an hour or a couple of hours, when it's convenient for you, you can watch that check-in. You can see my face, see my expression and my emotion, understand a lot more clearly what kind of state I'm in, and then you can respond to that either back to me through Marco Polo or through a phone call or a text. And so things like that, I prefer to meet people in person or to make a phone call. But tools like that, like Marco Polo, or like a text if that's necessary, tools like that allow me to continue to have at least some connection there. Now, if you notice a pattern in things that are triggering you or in struggles that you're having, if you're noticing that your recovery tools are beginning to slip when things get busy, talk about that. Talk about that to your sponsor or to your group in that check-in and let somebody know. In the comments, if you feel like it, I'd love to hear what part of your recovery routine gets the most challenged during the holidays. What gets the most challenged? One of my big triggers during the holidays is my anxiety spikes, and my schedule gets a little more hectic, and my expenses go up some, and that can set me off and get me going. And so I have to go out of my way to make sure that I'm interacting and communicating with people. Now, another area that is important as we move through the holidays is the area of boundaries and emotional safety. Boundaries are one of the greatest gifts that you can give to yourself in recovery. You may find it hard to believe this, but you don't have to attend every event that you get invited to. You don't have to go to every party. You don't have to go to every family activity. You just don't have to do it. You have the freedom to say, no, that's just not going to work right now. You don't have to stay in toxic conversations. Maybe there's somebody in your family. You get invited to those family events over the holidays, and there's somebody in your family that's always going to be quick to point out all your struggles and all your failures from the past. And you don't need that. You don't need somebody reminding you of something that you did a year ago or 2 years ago or 10 years ago. And you have permission to say, I can't talk with you right now, and to cut that off. We can cut off those conversations. Or if you're in recovery for alcohol or something of that nature, maybe you've been to a work party in the past, and you can identify this with this, where you're at a work party or family get together, and there are people there that know that you don't drink anymore, but they push you to take just one. It's not going to hurt you to take just one drink. You have permission to say no and walk away. Walk away from that situation. Another boundary that's good during this holiday season is that you don't have to explain your recovery to anybody who's not safe enough to hear it. And a lot of people just aren't safe. There's a phrase that I use all the time, not during the holidays, but it's kind of related to this. I always tell clients, I say, not everybody deserves to hear your story. Not everybody deserves to hear my story. And not everybody is safe in that. And I don't owe an explanation to anybody. And so we have permission, we have the freedom to set those boundaries. Now, here are a few boundary reminders for the season. Anytime you need to, you can say no, and you don't need to experience guilt for that. And no is a complete sentence. No. Here, Ron, let me buy you a drink. No, thank you. Not interested. Well, man, we used to drink every holiday. We did, but no. And we turn and we walk away from that conversation. A good tool for us is to have a plan for when a situation feels uncomfortable, like stepping outside, like calling somebody, or like simply leaving. For a lot of my clients that are married or have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, a lot of times I encourage them, before you go to that work party, before you go to that family get together and that event, I tell them, come up with a signal word or a phrase. One of my clients, they use a phrase every year. He is a recovering alcoholic. And when he begins to get triggered, he'll locate his wife and he will ask her, hey, honey, did you remember to turn off that light before we left the house. And that's a signal that he's already communicated with his wife. When I say that, when I ask you about turning off a light, that's a signal that I'm being triggered and we need to go for a walk, or we need to come up with an excuse to go down the street to the gas station or to the store. I need a break for a few minutes. And he and his wife have made an agreement that they'll take a break anytime it's needed. Make a plan for when a situation feels uncomfortable. Step outside. Go for a walk around the block. Make a phone call. I'm giving you permission to tell a little white lie. When you're feeling pressured, pull your phone out of your pocket and say, "Oh, I'm getting a call," and walk outside and take that break. Get away from the person in the situation that's triggering you. Now, boundaries are important, but boundaries are not walls. Boundaries are guardrails that keep us safe. They keep me from drifting off the roadway and into the ditch. Prepare in advance some safe topics. If family conversations start drifting towards chaos, have a pre-planned topic that you can go to. You can go to something as simple as a ball game, or something as simple as begin talking about something that's going on at work. If you had kids, talk about the kids. But have in your head, before you arrive at the place that you're going to, a topic that you can turn to that's going to be safe if conversations head in a wrong direction. Now, we have to go into all these things, work parties, work dinners, family get-togethers. We have to go into all these situations recognizing that not everybody at the table, not everybody at the event or the get-together is going to understand your recovery. And you know what? That's okay. It's okay. They don't have to understand your recovery. And it's not your job to convince them that you're right in what you're doing. You already know that you're right. You've already made a decision to change your life. And you don't need to justify that to anybody. Your job in these situations is to protect your peace, to protect your heart. So when somebody begins to push in on you, when somebody begins to press in on topics that you're not comfortable with, walk away. Have that other topic in place that you can turn to. Your job is to protect your peace. And here's an important thought on that. That doesn't mean that we stand there and put up with an unhealthy conversation or an unhealthy interaction until we're ready to blow up. It means that as soon as we begin to feel ourselves drifting in an unhealthy direction, that's when we make the move. Go outside for that walk. Find somebody else to talk to. If need be, get in the car and go home. So I want you to think about it as you're looking forward towards the holidays. Where might you need to set or reinforce a boundary this holiday season? And I'm going to challenge you that if you stop and think about it, you will be able to identify somebody at a family get together that normally triggers you and sets you off. Somebody that normally at a work party or a work event presses you and sets you off or puts you on that path to an unhealthy state of mind. And make a decision beforehand about what you can do to establish a boundary and how you can respond when that button begins to get pressed. All right. Through the holidays and all year long, I talk all the time about our need for connection and our need for support. Isolation is one of the biggest warning signs that exists for relapse. If you begin to isolate, you are taking steps towards a relapse. That's a guarantee. There are no ifs, ands, or buts. And the holiday season can make isolation easy to fall into. Can make isolation easy. We begin to say things like, I'm just tired. I'm not going to go to a meeting. I'm not going to reach out. I'm tired. And there will be times when you're tired. Or you may begin to tell yourself, well, I'm just too busy to make a phone call or to reach out to somebody. Or I'll make that phone call after New Year's. Things will get back to normal then. The decision has to be made to maintain your recovery now, in the present, and to keep it current. Now, here are a few ideas. Through the holidays, attend a sober gathering or host one. It may be that one of the groups that you're a part of, one of the meetings that you attend, a group, if you're a part of a group like AA or NA or Celebrate Recovery or some other group, it may be that they host a holiday get together. Attend to that. Attend to that. Step into that and look for opportunities to make new connections in those settings. Another healthy move through the holidays is to volunteer or do service work. That's exactly right, Blas. Exactly. Serving at a soup kitchen helped you one year. And man, serving at soup kitchens has been really beneficial for me in a lot of ways. Service is always good. And the other thing that it does is it allows me to see and to recognize in real time just how blessed I really am. Just how good God is being to me. Volunteer work. It's amazing how helping others shifts our mindset and allows us to see our blessings. Start a new recovery tradition. You know, my daughter Elizabeth was on here a little over a month ago. In my live, she was my guest, Elizabeth. She was my guest here in my live. When Elizabeth was living up in Fort Wayne, and even now while she's in Florida. but I was at some of her events while she was in Fort Wayne. I used to drive up there one weekend a month to see her. And Elizabeth knew her need for community, especially during the holidays. My daughters have always been really tight with family activities and family events. And here she was at Fort Wayne, several hours away from home. And so Elizabeth was always holding game nights or get-togethers or little bonfires there at her house. Ways for people to get together. And a lot of her friends were doing the same things. And people loved to attend things at her home. And anytime she had an opportunity, she participated in events that they were doing at their home. Start a new recovery tradition, a gratitude dinner, a morning walk. You know, one of the traditions, one of the things that's really good for me is I'll put the word out to a bunch of my friends. We need to get together and go for a walk. And some of us will do that. Or we can put together new traditions like reading your daily reflections before opening gifts, something of that nature. What kind of things have you done? You've already put in there, Blast, going to serve at a soup kitchen helped you one year. Yeah. Positive traditions. Maybe traditions that you started in the past, things you've done in the past, or a new routine that comes to mind now that you can fit into this holiday season that allows you to be a blessing to somebody else and allows you also at the same time to experience gratitude for where you're at. Church services, man. We have most of the churches I've ever attended do Christmas Eve services. And man, that has become a regular important thing for me. Another thing that my church does is a week or two before Christmas, they have a Christmas caroling night. And I got to tell you, they just go through the neighborhood around the church and they'll walk up to doors of houses where they see lights on. Somebody will knock on the door and then they sing Christmas carols. And it's a great time. And then we all come back together at the church for hot chocolate. And we usually, after we've gone out and sang Christmas carols, we come back to church for hot chocolate and we watch a Charlie Brown Christmas. And I got to tell you, even at my age, I still enjoy a Charlie Brown Christmas. And that's a good thing for me during the holidays. It makes me thankful for the work that God's doing in my life and where he has me today. These are good things, good things. So what are some practical recovery tools for this season and for this time of year? Let's talk a minute about some things you can put into your holiday recovery toolbox. Some of these are tools that you may already be using, or they may be tools that this is a good time of year to check them out and to begin to use. For instance, one of the tools that I lean on a lot in my recovery is deep breathing exercises. There's actually an app that I like to use. It's called Breathe to Relax. Breathe, the number 2, relax. This is a breathing exercise. Deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. It's guided while you're doing this. It lets you adjust how long you're breathing in, how long you're breathing out, how long you want to do this breathing exercise. And here's something else that kind of appealed to me. I've always been resistant to things like this. But when I first tried this app, one of the reasons that I tried it is that this app was designed for veterans who are struggling with anxiety and PTSD. And it was designed for them. And that made me vanity or whatever it is. I was more open to the idea of trying the app because it was designed by the military. Grounding exercises. I've talked, I think, before about grounding exercises. These can be a good tool. Journaling. If you are not journaling, this is a good time of year to begin. If you need some help getting started with journaling, I was really resistant to journaling early in my recovery. If you need some help getting started, I've got an outline, a simple outline for journaling. Doesn't take a whole lot of time unless you want to put a lot of time into it. And it's 4 simple questions that we answer and walk through that actually, in addition to letting us get some things out, it allows us to track things so that we can begin to recognize patterns in our addiction. And as we begin to recognize patterns, then we can begin to adjust our relapse prevention plan to see to it that it doesn't continue to be a problem going into the future. So journaling. If you need some help with journaling, shoot me an email. My email is in the chat here in the comments. I think you'll be able to scroll up, RW Coaching 2, or you can go to my website, rw-coaching.com. Shoot me a message, and I'll shoot you an outline for a simple journaling plan so that you can give that a try. Gratitude lists are an excellent tool for our toolbox. Gratitude. What am I thankful for? What do I have in my life to be thankful for? And I'm going to challenge you that no matter where you're at or what you're going through right now, you have reason to be thankful and to express gratitude. Tools, prayer and meditation time. Most of us are already doing this. We have something that we're reading regularly, whether it's the big book or whether it's our Bible, whether it is a devotional or some kind of meditation tool and a time of prayer. Lean into that. It's an important thing. Another thing that sometimes we overlook that's good for us and simple is listening to music that calms us and that lifts us up. It can be holiday music. That might be your thing. I have friends that already, before Halloween, have already started holiday music, Christmas music on their playlist. It's a little bit early for me for Christmas music, but some people are already starting that. It can be worship music. It can be some rock that you enjoy, whatever it may be. There's actually research. If you're like me, and I lean towards hardcore, I like a little screaming in my music. People say, how do you listen to that music where they scream? Well, let me ask you something. If you're honest, there have been times in your recovery where the only thing that you were able to do was scream. Yeah. And there's research out there now that says that some of us, like me, respond well to that hardcore music. It actually calms me. It helps to center me. Whatever type of music you listen to, except jazz, I have no tolerance for jazz. If you're good with jazz, listen to it. I can't do it. Just being honest here. But whatever music that soothes you and lifts you up. Music. Go for a walk. Walking has always been an important part of my recovery. Hit the gym, working out and exercising. It's good for us. It's good for our mindset. Call somebody who understands instead of sitting at home alone. Go meet somebody and grab a cup of coffee. You don't have to wait until you're in trouble, until you're already beginning to lose your balance and fall over that ledge to pick up your tools and begin to use them. Think of your tools like daily maintenance, the way that you keep your emotional engine running smoothly. Use them, get into a habit of using them before you need them or in times when you don't feel like you need them. Establish that pattern and then maintain that pattern. I would encourage you tonight or here over the next day or two, take a couple minutes and jot down 4 or 5 tools that you know help you calm down and stay centered. And if you're not sure what those tools are yet, that's okay. This is a great time to start building your tool list. This is the perfect time before the holidays get into full swing to consider, if you don't have one yet, putting together a written relapse prevention plan. And I've shared this before, and I'm going to say it again today. If you don't have a written relapse prevention plan, you need one. And if you want one, reach out. Shoot me an email. Shoot me a message at my website, rwcoaching2@gmail.com, or go to my website, rw-coaching.com, and send me a message and ask for an outline for a relapse prevention plan. I'll be happy to send you one. It's one that most of my clients use, and it's one that I still use personally. A written relapse prevention plan can be very important. Begin to put that together. And if you ask for one and you're struggling with getting it started, let me know and I'll be glad to connect with you and help you get that thing filled out and begin to put that thing into place. So we're coming up to the end of our time here. We're going to wrap this up with a quick recap. All right. Number 1, know your triggers. Know what it is in advance that sets you off. That's included on this relapse prevention plan that I'm talking to you about, that I'm more than happy to send to you. There's a place for you to write down what have you recognized as a trigger in your life. Get that down on paper. Then you can begin to put together a plan to deal with it when it comes at you. Keep as much of your structure as you can. Regular communication with a sponsor, with friends. Try to keep making meetings. Don't eliminate them. If you need to cut back a little, cut back. If you're doing 2 or 3 meetings a week, drop to 1, but don't eliminate all of them. Protect your peace. When somebody begins to push your buttons, they're offering you a drink or pushing you to do something that will not be healthy for you, you have the power and the permission to say no and to walk away. It's okay for you to do that. It's okay. Protect your peace. Stay connected. Make those phone calls. Reach out to those people. Let people know how things are going for you. And use your tools daily. Get used to looking at that tool list. The last thing on that relapse prevention plan that I use is a list of tools that work for me. And we keep those tools front and center. And we pick them up and we use them as needed. Not after we've already lost balance and we feel ourselves falling, but we use those tools daily as maintenance. All right. Recovery doesn't just happen. It's built one day and one decision at a time. And you can make it through this holiday season without relapse. You can make it through this holiday season successfully. You can do this. The holidays can be a testing ground, but they can also be a time of real growth. You've worked hard to get where you're at today in your recovery. Don't let this season pull you away from what matters most. I want to thank you for joining me tonight. If you're not viewing this until later, after it's posted on Facebook or on my other social media outlets, feel free to drop a comment there. What kind of triggers are you facing? What's going on? Feel free to shoot me a message. If you have questions about apps and tools, if you have a request for that journaling outline or for a relapse prevention plan, feel free to email me or to reach out to me through my website. I'd be happy to send you these tools, and I'd be happy to talk with you about these things. If this conversation has helped you, then I'd encourage you to share it with somebody who might need it. It's going to be posted, and it will be shareable. Again, I'm going to say go to my website. At the bottom of my homepage are links to all of my social media. And this video will be posted there where it can be accessed if you want to take a look again, or if you want to share it with somebody that might need to see this. Again, thank you. If you want help building your holiday recovery plan, reach out. rwcoaching2@gmail.com, or visit me on my website at rw-coaching.com. All right. Have a good evening. And I will, one more thing before I go, really quick. Normally, I have my guests on the third Tuesday of each month. But in November, because of the holidays and some things going on, I'm going to be a little early. My live guest will be the second Tuesday of November. That's November 11th. And my guest will be Rob Shetler. His website is Pastoral Care for You. And Rob is a former pastor, I think 20 plus years as a chaplain, a hospital chaplain and a hospice chaplain. And Rob practices pastoral care and recovery focused pastoral care. And he's going to be with me on November the 11th to talk about the spiritual aspect and the spiritual side of recovery. I want you to plan on that. It's going to be a great time. He's going to have some great things to share. All right. Have a good evening, and I'll talk to you all next week.